Hey everybody, it's Josh with Talk About Trek, and we are back again today to talk about another Star Trek book. Surprise, surprise. We are continuing our Peter David book trek here, and this is Peter David's second entry, and this is a collaboration here. So this is a new novel written by Peter David, Michael Jan Friedman, and Robert Greenburger. And so you've got a bunch of heavy hitters here, so you know you're going to have something pretty good. And, well, I guess let's just get right into it from the cover. The USS Enterprise faces a deadly alien fleet. They do. That's one of the things that they face. But I want to point out the fantastic cover that we have here. And this, of course, is a Keith Bird song, who did so many awesome covers back in the day. So you can see we have the Enterprise up here, but then back in the background, what do we have here? Who is this other ship? And that is none other than the USS Lexington. So we've got two ships here. We've got a kind of a split part adventure going on, which is always fun. And I guess too when you have these kind of books that are written by these multiple authors at a time, you can kind of expect that you might come into that as well too. That you're going to have kind of two separate stories that will come together in the end somehow. Uh oh. I dropped my big book. It's okay. We'll get it in a minute. Now, let's go to the back here. The Disinherited. Gamma Zeridian. The book has reappeared. Thank you. Gamma Zeridian. A peaceful Federation research colony that becomes the third Federation world to suffer a brutal attack at the hands of a mysterious alien fleet. With Lieutenant Uhura gone on an important mission of her own, Captain Kirk and the USS Enterprise are dispatched to investigate the attacks, only to find the planets completely devastated. When another nearby colony is attacked, the USS Enterprise is ready and encounters a fleet of quick, small, and deadly ships. Though Kirk and his crew manage to turn the raiders away, the USS Enterprise is severely damaged and the aliens escape. As Kirk and his crew prepare for the next encounter with the raiders, Mr. Spock makes a startling discovery about the purpose behind the alien attacks. A purpose that, if realized, could have deadly consequences for the Federation and for the USS Enterprise. Cool, alright. So the back cover basically tells, one of the two stories that we're talking about here today. And again, like I said, it's a very well done, split thing. So you have, like I said, Uhura's kind of being borrowed, shipped off to the Lexington because of her skill. The Rithram, the people that she's going to help communicate with both speech and sign language at the same time. So her skills are definitely needed. And the Lexington is under the command of Commodore Wesley, who I kind of looked into it as comes into being a big player in a lot of the novel verse later on too. So anyway, that's kind of the gist of the story. Basically, you're starting there. So you have two missions going on. You've got Kirk and the Enterprise chasing after these raiders that are kind of devastating the quadrant, and then you've got Uhura, Wesley, and the crew of the Lexington, and they're on their own mission to assist the Rithram, who have asked for Federation assistance, right? So, again, you look at the cover, you think you're getting a Kirk book, and you do get Kirk, and you've got a lot of Sulu, and you've got a lot of Spock and Scotty, but the story focuses on Uhura on the Lexington, and then Chekov on the Enterprise. And it's a great Chekov story because it's early, nervous Chekov. He's kind of finding his way, he's finding his own there, seeing his role and how he fits into things. And there's a lot of very interesting moments, that play out because of that. And on the Uhura side, she also gets kind of her mission kind of faces something a little bit different. She's faced with the mission to communicate with these people, but then also she feels that she needs to help out the communications officer of the Lexington. So there's that's going on there in that story too, where her mission is kind of to help him as well as communicate with these people, and then So, and then, like I said, it just kind of, shifts back and forth. And then at some point, you get that great aha moment where it's like, oh, that's how these two stories combine together, right? And for my part, it was very well done. I really liked how all that went. So, now, before we get into too many spoilers here and just start ranting away, we do have the great book of books here, Voyages of the Imagination, which will give us a little bit of insight into the writing of this book here. So we're looking for page 92. Now, it looks like they got remarks from Robert Greenburger and Michael J. Friedman, but they were unable to get anything from Peter David. So let's read, what we can tell here. Oh, interesting enough, too, this was going to be a 4-part or a 4-author book. Carmen Carter was going to be a part of it, but she declined, so the 3 of them just continued on. So they asked, now this is Robert speaking, and he says that Mike suggested the Uhura on the Lexington storyline. Interestingly, I got Chekov and Spock bits, and to be honest, neither were my favorites, but I'm pleased with how they turned out. And for me, the Chekov stuff in the book was kind of some of my favorite stuff here. Again, this was an easy story to break down and outline. We wrote it and Mike polished it. Mike commented, Bob came up with the basic concept, we fleshed it out, and we came up with events, certain number of events, divided them as equally as we could, wrote individually, came back, and I did a final polish. That was fun. It was fun too. So you have to kind of guess from there on what everybody's individual contribution was, which is an interesting, it's an interesting way to kind of read the book too. So when I kind of went back and thought about it, and when they got into the Rithrum and describing the Rithrum and how their society worked, that made me kind of think that came from Peter David. That seemed like very much in line with a lot of his other writing, and so that's kind of what I was thinking. One of his big inputs was probably that part of the story there. So, but yeah, that's it. They don't give you much more, so you just have to kind of guess, suss your way out there through everything else and see if you can figure out which author contributed for what part, other than what they said there. So, now then, let's get directly into the ranting portion of the stream here, where we just talk about what we liked about this book, and there was a lot. There was a lot to like here, and I did take decent notes, not chapter by chapter, but, hitting the high points, the talking points, that kind of stuff, so. First off, the way the book starts, and this is classic. I've read a lot of Star Trek books, if you guys don't know that, and I don't even know what it is, if it has a literary trope name or not, but basically the perspective of the doomed colony, as the raiders are coming in. And I know I've read this in multiple other Star Trek books, but it's a very impactful way to start off the book, right? You have basically these people kind of celebrating an event coming up. They're laughing, they're having a good time, and then all of a sudden, boom, raiders coming in on the horizon, and basically you're getting to see their perspective of being destroyed, right? It's a dark way to start it, and it kind of sets the tone for something terrible is happening, right? So you always kind of can hold that with you throughout the whole book. Those darn raiders, you're shaking your fist at them, So that's how it starts out, right? And then, like I said, they have the problem happening with the Rithrum as well. The Rithrum have requested Federation aid, so the Lexington has requested the best communications officer, Uhura, to join the crew for this, temporary mission. Now, this Commodore Wesley, who's the commander, he's got like a history of kind of taking officers, so he's going to try to take Uhura and make him her communications officer full time, right? That's the idea. Not going to happen, right? Not going to happen. Anyway, So now you have your two different storylines going on. The Lexington warps off to Rithram, and then the Enterprise begins its basically investigation, right? So they start going to all the colonies that have been attacked. They start scanning all the things. They're doing, you know, just doing all the investigating that they can. And then this is where you start to see that this novel is going to be about Chekov, kind of overcoming his, I don't know, I couldn't think of the right word that I was going for, but just his fear of failure, his fear of messing up, and he's very he's very worried. He's just kind of very worried, right? Oh, before I get too far ahead, early in the book, I don't know which of these three writers did it, but there is a conference room scene that is just so funny and well done that I could see it in an episode. Um, and I won't go into the whole thing. I would just suggest that you read this book and remember to pay attention to that scene when it comes up because it was just very well done. They're kind of ribbing Dr. McCoy about something, and it just everybody gets a turn, and it ends with the captain getting his 2 cents in, and it's just I'm a sucker for a good conference room scene, and that was one of the funniest ones that I've ever read, and it was just very. It's getting very dark in here. No. It was very on point for like the TOS crew, right? Just how the interactions went and everything. Very very well done, and it got a good laugh out of me, right? So you have. Oh boy, where do we go from here? Do we go back and forth? All right, we'll just kind of go back and forth a little bit. All right. So the Enterprise is investigating. Chekov is showing off some of his skills, and getting noticed by different members of the senior staff. The Lexington arrives at Rithram. They beam down. They meet with the delegation, and basically the problem is they have this. Well, there's other issues too, right? So when they beam down, they're kind of getting introduced. Uhura notices that for some reason these workers appear to be um, like scraping off bits of a certain like relief or something, right? So she doesn't think too much of it, but it's the seeds of a little bit of a mystery that they put in here, which is fun, right? So you have this little bit of a mystery that kind of helps drive that side of the story. The other, I guess, driver of that side of the story, it's got two steering wheels in this car here, is the story of Bela. And Bela is the communications officer of the Lexington, who the captain is somehow like losing confidence in. He's not quite the same person he has been, right? So he and Uhura, they, at first he's kind of like thinking, hey, she's coming in here to take my job because I can't do it anymore, that kind of thing. But, she ends up helping him, working with him. He was also from Africa, from like a tribe, but his background was much different. His tribe was like this one that followed this lady who basically was like, all technology is bad, you can't leave the planet. So when he wanted to join Starfleet and the Federation and all that, his family shunned him, And that was the thing that was kind of like laying on him and weighing him down all this time. So, there's just two very good arcs here. You have kind of this, both Bela and Chekov kind of starting out low, and then Chekov with the help of everyone on the Enterprise, and then Bela with Uhura's help, they both come around to this different position by the end of the book, which I thought was just, just very good because you do that, two times, not just one, two times, because you got two different stories, right? So, anyway, a little bit of a mystery that goes on there. The people on the planet Rithram then, eventually after, like, I think they get asked too many questions, they're getting a little bit of antsy, they're like, no, never mind, we don't want your help, and they kind of send them away. Then they get called back again, but this time they speak with a different caste. So within the society, there's like builders, governors, something else, and like the procreators, right? So now they're going to speak with the procreator, and that's therein where the problem lies. Basically, the one place where the species can come to have their babies is in a spot that's affected by like a volcano right now. Typical Star Trek fashion, right? They gotta have a volcano. So they have to erect some kind of shield system, and that's basically like the help that they're asking them for. Now, in going to this place, Uhura and Wesley and Bela, they notice another clue. Uh, Off in the distance, several statues, but a few of them torn down. Like, what? Now, when they ask about this, everybody is really tight-lipped. They don't want to talk about it. So again, kind of deepening that mystery here, and that's very fun. So, back to the Enterprise, they encounter a few of these, you know, busted up colonies, and they do some scanning, and they kind of find out a little bit more about their enemy. They meet with another colony in the system, which is basically like the, probably the next one that's going to be hit, right? That's what they think. So they speak with them, and the people there, like, we're fine, we'll be all right. So they move on, and then of course those people get hit. So they come back, and again, they do give you the colony side perspective, maybe just for like half a chapter, but it's always good to see that and give you that kind of perspective of the colony being attacked, right? It brings like this extra level of something to it. Anyway, Kirk gets back there. They're able to engage the enemy, and this is when, maybe this is not when, but at some point, there is this kind of situation on the bridge where they are in battle. Chekov thinks he has a solution, and he tries to suggest it. And, like, that's not the right time to do that, right? That's you do that in a meeting, in a conference, but not red alert situation on the bridge, which is what he did. And he actually gets relieved from duty for speaking out in that way, and then that kind of really like lays on him for the rest of the book, and that's kind of like the big point that he has to kind of come back from, right? And so again, Kirk pulls off a spectacular warp for Kirk maneuver and is able to disable some of the ships, but a lot of them get away. They're much like faster and maneuverable, right? So Sulu is big in this too, in his kind of influence into Chekov. So there is a lot of fun stuff there playing out between the two of them as they're manning the board there right together. So now also let me see, where are we at? Ooh, so it's at this point in the book too, you're starting to get to that point where you're like, ooh, we're getting real close to figuring out what is tying these two things together here. And I really liked how it was done, because I feel like I got it like the moment in the book that like they got it, and I'm sure that's what's intended, but I just kind of like the way that all played out. So basically, as the crew of the Lexington are questioning the Rithram on the missing statues and kind of the weirdness that's going on there, they come to find out that there is a fifth caste, the warrior caste, who once the Rithram have kind of advanced and became more peaceful, they then moved to off-planet activities, right? They were warriors still. They had to keep doing something, right? So, and then like right when they say that, then you're like, oh my god, yes, of course the raiders are the Rithram. And basically they are renting themselves out as mercenaries. Now, who is renting them out? This is a people I've not talked about yet. This is the Peruthal. And they reminded me an awful lot of the Pakled, just in the way they were talking. It's like we as being very smart, just like a very strange way of speaking, which I want to say maybe also Peter David's work. I wish I could quickly find an example in here so that I could point it out to you. No. We are being in for certain in regards to being into the Federation. The problem was with these people that they are a terrible authoritarian people who thought that they improved because instead of torturing people, now they just shoot them immediately. So that's their level of improvement, and they thought that that would convince the Federation that they've been doing good, you know. So immediately it comes to mind that these are the people that are hiring the Rithram. What are they hiring them for? Spock has found out that a series of components is missing from each of these colonies. So they're doing something to get these components. And what are they doing? They're making a big old plasma canyon. A big canyon? They're digging a very deep canyon with a plasma. No. They're making a plasma cannon. A very large cannon that basically requires it to be towed by like a number of ships, right? And what are they going to do? Since they've already kind of dominated their world, they're going to go try to dominate another one. So that's the kind of the climax of the book. After the Enterprise takes care of the remaining raiders in a very pitched battle that Chekov is able to participate in and kind of really, I guess, with his research, kind of help turn the tide. The Enterprise beats them and then is able to race to this system in time to stop the Parathul from basically taking over another planet using their giant plasma cannon. And again, you have a fun space battle at the end there where the Enterprise is fighting and trying to like avoid shots from this plasma cannon. And I want to know who wrote that scene because I liked how it was done too. And I'm thinking maybe it was Peter David. I'm thinking. So, great ending. Really just came down to a very fun and exciting, you know, like on the Enterprise, a very fun and exciting story, and then you had this fun mystery over on the Lexington. Both stories had this bit of character growth, you know, with these characters coming from a low spot up to a high spot, and Bela in the end actually was chosen to be the kind of representative, to be there to stay on Rithram as they chose to, you know, go and get Federation membership. So the Parathul, they get punished, they get all their components stolen that they stole back, you know, everything gets taken away. And in the end, Uhura, of course, goes back to the Enterprise to continue being the officer there. So, I mean, what a fun book. Again, Peter David Book Trek has been fun so far. We're going to, before we forget here, we do want to show off our bookmark. This is our bookmark from the last book. This is Mr. Spock here. Live long and prosper. And in the next video, I will show you the bookmark that goes with this book, which is being worked on right now. And then the bookmark for the next book, which looks to be a Sulu adventure. It's called The Captain's Daughter. And that one is written solely by Peter David. And I'm looking forward to it. I'm thinking Sulu. I'm thinking on the Excelsior, maybe. I don't know. We're going to find out. You know, I don't get no spoilers, none of that. So, but we're going to get into that here real soon. That's it. Thanks for hanging out and listening. Oh, one more thing. New shirt. Hype. Look at this. Yeah, that's right. That's a Tendi shirt. It's a really good shirt. Anyway, thanks for hanging out. As always, my friends, live long and prosper. We'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good night.